We're trying to inspire sympathy for millions of people who have to go out there every day and grind on their feet, not doing luxurious things. It's just not going to happen.
And a Jamie Lloyd production of Evita. I promise y'all don't need to be worrying about her career like that.
Because there's so many people that will view you as competition, or they'll make you feel not as good as you deserve to feel.
I just saw this video that was like, Rachel Zegler doesn't have a single movie role lined up after Snow White.
For every hour that it is streamed online.
According to explosive new rumors coming straight out of Broadway, Rachel Zegler may be facing something far more serious than just a bad headline. Word is, she's staring down a massive $5 million fine, and this isn't your average PR scandal. It's reportedly tied directly to her alleged behavior on the set of Evita, the highly anticipated stage revival that had everyone buzzing, until things apparently started to spiral behind the scenes. But let's be clear, it's not because she walked off set. It's not because she officially quit or publicly trashed the production. No, what insiders are now revealing is way more complicated and way more damaging. According to multiple sources close to the production, what triggered this potential financial penalty were a series of behind-the-scenes outbursts. We're talking about behavior that, allegedly, wasn't just difficult. It may have been disruptive enough to activate a buried clause in her contract. A clause that most actors never expect to see enforced. This hidden clause? It's designed to protect the reputation of the show. It basically acts like a warning shot from producers to talent. If your actions harm the image, schedule, or success of the production, you'll pay for it, literally. And now, sources say the producers aren't just aware of that clause. They're actively invoking it. It's a legal move that's rarely used, and for good reason. These types of clauses are considered a nuclear option in the industry. You don't pull them out unless everything has gone completely off the rails. And according to those speaking out, things behind the curtain may have reached that exact point. Insiders described the atmosphere on set as tense and volatile, with some even claiming that cast and crew felt on edge every time Zegler arrived. While none of these reports have been officially confirmed by the production team, whispers are growing louder by the day. Some say producers felt they had no choice but to take action after repeated incidents threatened to derail the entire show's momentum. This situation goes beyond just one actress causing trouble. If the rumors are accurate, it's setting a dangerous precedent, one where creative differences could be reclassified as breach of contract, carrying serious financial consequences. And in Zegler's case, we're not talking about a slap on the wrist. We're talking millions. What's also raising eyebrows is how quiet Zegler's team has been about all of this. No public denial, no statement clearing the air, just silence. And in the world of entertainment, silence speaks volumes. Whether the $5 million fine is real or just an exaggerated threat remains to be seen. But the message being sent is loud and clear. Even the biggest rising stars aren't above the contracts. They sign. And when reputations and millions of dollars are on the line, the industry has no problem protecting its own. Stay tuned, because if this situation keeps escalating, we might be witnessing one of the most dramatic Broadway fallouts in years.
And in the film industry, when you are an actor, when you sign one of these contracts in the entertainment industry, I think a lot of people on the outside think that, if you are somebody who, has a lot of publicity around you and your name is attached to a project, that means that you have a ton of control or a ton of intel, but usually that is not the case. As an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look. That is our job, and that was my job on this production. So again, that's really all I can say. Which honestly kind of seems like maybe this path that I'm taking right now is the path that Rachel Zegler should have taken instead of just running her mouth for the last 3 years.
Something major just erupted on Broadway. And it's not the applause you'd expect from a show like Evita. After weeks of cryptic posts, swirling backstage gossip, and whispers louder than the orchestra, Rachel Zegler has finally broken her silence. But instead of clearing the air, she's blowing it up. In a move that caught the entire industry off guard, Zegler reportedly placed blame for the Evita collapse squarely on the cast. Not the script, not scheduling conflicts, the cast. According to leaked statements, she believes she was set up from day one, surrounded by people who never wanted her there, isolated during rehearsals, and emotionally pushed to the edge. But that revelation wasn't met with sympathy. In fact, it may have triggered something far worse, because the people behind the production aren't taking her accusations quietly. No denials, no counter-interviews. Just one move. They're allegedly coming straight for her paycheck. According to insiders close to the matter, producers are now enforcing a clause in her contract, a little-known but very real legal mechanism known as a conduct and reputation clause. And the rumored fine tied to it? A jaw-dropping $5 million, not for walking off set, not for refusing to perform, but for what she said off stage. And here's the kicker. Her team isn't denying it. Just 2 words. No comment. Behind the scenes, though, insiders say it's chaos. Legal departments involved, PR firms scrambling, cast and crew caught in the middle. And depending on what happens next, this could unravel everything Rachel Zegler has worked to build. To some, Zegler's behavior is just a modern expression of a Gen Z mindset. Own your truth, speak freely, no matter the cost. But when you're the face of a multi-million-dollar production, the cost is not just yours to carry. Because a contract isn't just a suggestion. It's a deal, a responsibility. You sign on that dotted line, you accept the role, and with that comes the duty to uphold a certain standard. And one of the most important parts of that is public conduct. Not just how you perform on stage, but how you behave when the spotlight's off. That's what keeps the wheels turning for the hundreds of people behind the scenes depending on the show's success. The fire really caught on when Rachel's alleged private messages were leaked. In those messages, she didn't just vent. She lit a match. She claimed the Evita cast made her feel unwelcome, described the production environment as toxic, and even alleged that key people set her up. Her words were raw, emotional, clearly never meant for public release. But once they were out, the internet ignited. Some fans immediately defended her, saying this was a young woman finally speaking her truth. But others, they saw it differently. To them, this wasn't brave. It was reckless. Another moment in a pattern of deflection, where Zegler finds someone else to blame whenever things don't go her way. And then there's the silence. Not a single public word from any cast member. No one stepping forward to defend her. No one contradicting her either. Just silence. Which in this industry? That's often the loudest response. According to theater insiders, this wasn't just a bad look, it was the final straw. Tensions had reportedly been building for weeks, missed rehearsals, passive-aggressive behavior, crew complaints. The leaked messages weren't just embarrassing, they were damning. And producers, allegedly, had had enough. They dusted off the contract. They found the clause, the one buried in pages of legal language meant to protect the production in the worst-case scenario. And now they're allegedly using it, not just to punish, but to send a message. That message? You're not untouchable. Zegler, for her part, responded, not with a denial, but with a cryptic metaphor-filled post invoking the winged victory statue at the Louvre, comparing herself to a fragmented piece of art admired despite its flaws. It was poetic, sure, but also confusing, defiant, a signal that she's not backing down. And while her most loyal fans called it iconic, powerful, even brave, others saw it for what it might be: a distraction, a diversion from the fact that the fine she's reportedly facing isn't just symbolic, it's financially devastating. $5 million isn't a tab you walk away from. And the producers? They're allegedly prepared to go all the way. What's important to understand is this: high-profile contracts like Zegler's are not just about performance. They're about protection, the kind that shields producers, investors, and entire creative teams from PR disasters and reputational damage. And according to new reports, the clause they're activating isn't a fantasy. It's real. It's called a morals clause, and it states that if a star's behavior results in financial or reputational loss, they're liable. And in Rachel's case, the math checks out. Leaked documents suggest the $5 million figure is tied to lost advertising revenue, canceled promotional deals, and projected ticket losses due to bad press. That number? It's not random, it's calculated. And then there's the growing suspicion that this situation may have already cost her roles. According to Hollywood scooper Daniel RPK, Zegler has been quietly recast in Paddington 3. Officially, it's due to strikes, but insiders are calling it what it likely is: damage control. Because when your name becomes synonymous with difficult, you're no longer a casting choice, you're a liability. We've seen it building for a while. Her Snow White controversy, where she criticized the original fairy tale and alienated Disney fans. Her Shazam 2 remarks, where she admitted taking the role just for the paycheck. Every time she shrugged it off. Until now, because this time, the blowback is legal. Reddit threads exploded. Fan TikToks flooded with breakdowns and speculation. Some called her a scapegoat, a young woman targeted for being too outspoken, too bold. Others said this is exactly what happens when accountability meets entitlement. The debate isn't just about Rachel anymore. It's about how young women in entertainment are treated when they push back. It's about contracts, control, power, and perception. Some legal experts say the fine could hold up in court, especially if producers can prove her conduct directly affected the production's bottom line. Others believe it's a bluff, a scare, tactic, a quiet but very real way of saying, we're done playing nice. And even if they never collect a cent, the damage is done. Rachel Zegler's name is now tied to scandal, leaks, missed rehearsals, and backstage meltdowns. Her next casting director won't just look at her demo reel. They'll look at this. Because once a clause like this becomes public, you can't unsee it. So where does it end? Does Rachel make a public apology and try to repair the damage? Does she double down and fight the clause in court? Or does she disappear from the public eye for a while, let the storm pass, and hope for a quiet return? Right now, she's silent. Her team? Silent. The producers? Silent. But the documents, the leaks, the rumors, they're doing all the talking. And what they're saying is clear. Rachel Zegler, once Hollywood's newest Golden Girl, may have just stepped into her biggest role yet, the villain in her own PR disaster. And the most dramatic part? This isn't over. In fact, it's just the beginning. Subscribe to the channel if you want to follow how this all unfolds. Because if they drop that $5 million hammer, or if Rachel claps back with a lawsuit of her own, this saga, it's only going to get messier.